Hello, friends, and welcome to this month's Palm Beach Confidential update. I, of course, am coming from another hotel room. I just got off a plane from Austin, Texas, where I was attending South by Southwest. I am now in Delray Beach, Florida. We are doing a webinar tomorrow, and we're actually reopening Palm Beach Confidential for the first time in 5 months. We got a lot of questions about what's the idea that we're going to release tomorrow, and it's an idea that you have already have access to now. So you should always know that I will never reveal an idea to anyone before we reveal it to you as a member of Palm Beach Confidential. Right? You always get first access, so you don't have to worry about an idea coming out that you're not familiar with or have not participated in. So a couple of things I want to talk about. Let's talk about South by Southwest because I was just there. It was a remarkable change from last year. From last year, there was very little coverage in blockchain. There were very few blockchain or cryptocurrency events. And this year, of course, there was just an enormous amount of cryptocurrency events, enormous amount of blockchain events. And I got to meet and greet with a lot of different people in the space. And again, this kind of reaffirmed what I learned in Portugal a month ago, that the pace of investment in this sector is not slowing down. Just by the end of February, over $1 billion had been committed into blockchain development, ICOs. That doesn't even include the $850 million that's been raised by Telegram, or the $200 million that traditional VCs have put into this sector. And this is really a very interesting point, that we are now seeing very smart, very professional money come into the space. So when I say very professional money, I'm talking about legitimate, full-fledged venture capital firms that have been around for a long, long time. Right now, VC firms completely missed the boat in 2016 and 2017. They were just kind of sitting on their thumbs. And the only people that were really participating were individuals, and you had some VCs participating as individuals, but not for their funds. So 2018 for me is really the year that professional money comes into this space, and this is a lot that has to do with the second boom that I'm going to be talking about tomorrow, which is the infrastructure is being put in place that is going to funnel literally trillions of institutional dollars into this marketplace. And there are several things going on behind the scenes that are putting these building blocks in place that will allow this institutional money to come into the market. I chatted with several fund managers while at South by. They manage anywhere from $50 to a couple of $100 million. And they are dedicated cryptocurrency funds. And we were talking about the real difficulties in that space. And then they were sharing with me some of the things that they're doing and some of the new things that are happening that is really going to enable some of the most conservative money in this country. I'm talking about endowment money and pension fund money, which is also some of the largest money in this country, to actually be able to commit part of their assets to this market. Now, institutional assets, pension fund assets, are in the tens of trillions of dollars, 50, 60, 70 trillion dollars. It doesn't take much from that pie to leak into this market to have an enormous impact on the market. And I think that's what 2018 is going to be all about. Now, what about 2018, about where we are right now? I've got to say, the emails that I've been getting recently have been, very understanding, and it's been great because a lot of you have been with me for a while now, and you've lived through massive volatility before. But we do have some new folks, and they've been expressing a little bit of concern. So one email I got was, why are you still recommending coins? Why should we be buying coins here with the market down 50% and I've already lost half my money? Well, I would say congratulations, because some of my hardest hit ideas are down 75 or 80% right now. So if you're only down 50%, you're doing pretty good. Look, I say that tongue in cheek. There's been 9 times over the last 2 years where we've been down 30 to 85% just across the board in our portfolio. And every single time I make a video like this and I say, look, this is the reason why we use a uniform position size. This is the reason why we use small position sizes, to give us the staying power to not freak out and then make a rash decision at the bottom of what I call the fear curve. And so that's the place that we are right now, right? Volatility is the price that we pay for the enormous gains that we make. And so what you want to do in a situation like this is just take a deep breath, relax, unplug. Now, if you're losing sleep at night because you're down 50% or 80% on a position, you probably went a bit too big. Now, friends, we have to be willing to sit through pullbacks of this magnitude in order to make enormous gains, right? So you look at Ethereum, right? We sat through a 75% pullback on Ethereum twice, right? Twice. It went from 9 to 20 to around $5 or $6, okay? And we were languishing between $5 and $8 for months. Then we exploded up to $400. We had a buy up to $400. And then last year in the summer, late summer, we had a huge sell-off. Ethereum went down to, I think, 100 or $150, right? So you're talking about 70 to 75% drawdown from $400. But 4 or 5 months later, we were trading at $1,400 a coin. So, I mean, look, you can have like the greatest research in the world, right? And if you don't have the ability to sit through the volatility, you will not capture those gains. Now, I'm very honest with you. I don't have the ability to perfectly time these entries and exits. Like in a perfect world, I would have sold at 400 and then bought back at 100, right? I don't possess that ability. Maybe you do. And if you do, you can make even more money than we've already made. So what I do is focus on my core strength. My core strength is identifying projects that experience an explosion in usage of the coin. And that explosion of usage then leads to an explosion in the price of the coin, right? That's what I do really, really well. And that has nothing to do with market timing. That's all just boots on the ground research, making educated estimates as to where that usage is going, getting an idea of where I think that ultimate value lies at, and then just waiting for that value to be realized. And then on an ongoing basis, keep looking at my assumptions of the idea, and then keep looking at the reality, right? Is the reality reflecting my assumptions? And so long as it is, right, and when I say reality, I'm talking about is the team following through on what they said they would? Is the solution getting the level of adoption I believed it would? Is it as useful as I thought it would be? Is there somebody else coming in here that could potentially take away that usage, right? So these are the questions I constantly ask myself, and this is the reason why I live out of a suitcase. You know, I'm just constantly paranoid about these questions, and that's why I want. If I'm going to be wrong about an idea and about its usage, I want to know as quickly as possible. Well, you can't learn that just sitting in front of your screen, you know, kicking back and reading white papers. You got to go travel. You got to go visit with these brilliant young men and women and find out what they're working on, and find out if what they're doing is going to kill something that you have in your portfolio, and then find out how real that idea is. When is that idea going to come to market? So that's a lot of work. But because I do that level of work, it gives me enormous confidence in the ideas that I put in the portfolio. Now, is every idea going to make it? Absolutely not. I've always been super clear with you about that. But here's the key thing. Every idea doesn't have to make it in order for us to make an enormous amount of money. And so what we do is we simply rely on the same process that VCs have been relying on for 50 years. You build a broad portfolio, you use an equal amount of money in each position, so no one position can put you out of business, and you use a rigorous research approach to identify great ideas. And then you just let the market do its thing, right? So you've got to understand that we are planting seeds in essentially a virgin field. Okay, it's not a field that's had 1,000 harvests, right? And this field is going to grow. Right now, it's about $400 billion. We're down about 55% from the highs. But this is going to become a multi-trillion-dollar asset class. So think of it like back in the internet days, the early internet days, the entire NASDAQ was about 800 billion. And, this was a very small piece of the market relative to the New York Stock Exchange and relative to non-tech equities in general. And yet over the 90s, it just mushroomed into this $5 trillion marketplace. So what enables me to manage the volatility is I would look at something like Ethereum and I would say, okay, Ethereum went from 20 to 5, which is a big drop, 75%. But relative to the value of where I think it would go to, which at the time when I wrote the original report, I think I had a price target of 320 or 360. I said, okay, well, that's a 15-point move based against what I think is going to be a 350-point rise, right? So that allows me mentally to handle the volatility better. So I compare the volatility to where I think the price of it's going to go versus where the price of it has been. Now, of course, you've got to be right on your research. But again, by using a diversified approach and using uniform small positions, you're doing everything you can, right? You've got an actual methodology where if you are riding this massive trend, as this massive trend unfolds, you cannot help but make money, right? And lots of it. Again, we're going to step on the odd landmine here or there, but it should be insignificant relative to the money that we make on our other ideas. So the last thing I want to talk about is the market right now and the technical action in the market. A couple of months ago, I told you that as the market was rallying and we saw Bitcoin get close to $12,000, I said, look, there's a very good chance we're going to see what's called a W bottom, which is where you go up like this, you retest the low, and then you come back up, as opposed to a V bottom, which is where you go down and then you just go straight up. So I think we are in that second W period right now. Now, it all depends here. We could make a higher bottom in Bitcoin and then be off to the races, or we could make a lower bottom. We could go all the way back down to 6K, revisit that low, maybe even go down to 5K. You have to be emotionally prepared for that, okay? I know that's tough, but you have to be emotionally prepared for it. So the next question will be, well, if you think that's going to happen, why don't we sell everything and buy it back? Because I don't have a crystal ball. Some sentiment change could happen in the market, and Bitcoin could be at 16K like that. So there's more risk in exiting the market and trying to time a re-entry than there is by just sitting still, right? Believe it or not, there is less risk by sitting still than there is trying to jump in and out. And I just won't do it. That's just not what I do. It's not what I'm good at, right? When it comes to this market. And so if you're good at that, you should do that. But a person's got to know, what their superpower is, right? What they're good at and what they're not good at. When I look back on the mistakes of my career, it was trying to be something I wasn't. When I look back at where I've been very successful in my career, it's by completely embracing who I am and what I do well. And so I will continue to do that with Palm Beach Confidential. All right, friends, that is enough out of me. I'm going to try and save my voice for tomorrow. 5 weeks, and this thing is still kicking my butt. It's crazy. Okay, I will catch up with you soon, and I want you to always remember, let the game come to you.